So here we are, episode 34 of the Trade Legends podcast, and I have a very special co-host tonight, Rob.
Evening, how are we? Afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this.
Thank you very much for filling in for Peter Booth,
Not a problem.
who is not here yet again.
Oh, I was saying to Mark the other day, I'm the fill-in for the fill-in. I'm like, you know, when you're doing a job on a Sunday and you need a bit of polyfill and the only place open is a pound shop, you know it's not good enough, but it'll just have to do to get the job over the line and get paid.
I'm sure he's enjoying himself as well, the little bastard on holiday, who keeps sending me random pictures of himself.
Yeah, he does the same to me.
Enjoying himself. So we've got two new guests tonight, and we have Alec John.
Oh, yeah, right.
Plumber.
Yeah, I'm plumber.
Extraordinaire, TikTok sensation, and we've also got John Jones Carpentry, who's also a bit of a TikTok sensation as well. And two very good guests, and I'm excited to talk to you about how you guys got into the trade, sort of taking us back to the very sort of start of it, not obviously birth and I went to school and I had 2 dogs and a cat and grew up or whatever, but just give us a bit of backstory about how you came to be in the trade, sort of the progression, what got you into it, and then give us sort of a bit of insight as you sort of got onto social, what made you get into social, the types of things that you've done, and sort of how you got here basically. So who do you want to start with, Rob? Who do you think will be
Let's go with Alec.
Okay.
He's up for the plumbers tonight. I never thought I'd see that. He's up for the plumbers.
So I started, so I left school 16, and I did really bad.
You only look 16.
I look 16.
Yeah. He does though, doesn't he? He looks really young.
That's good.
He had an easy paper round, it was all
Easy
downhill.
paper.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
26.
26.
I
Yeah.
still, he looks younger than 26, doesn't he?
Yeah, but that's just the shave.
The baby face.
The baby face.
I actually was going in, well, I shouldn't really say this on the podcast, but I was actually still going into football matches as under 16 on a ticket. And all I had to do was have a shave, and this was probably, I was about 28. So literally I'd have a shave, and what the one time where that didn't work was I walked in, and my friend Woody, who's massive, he's about 6'6", like looks about 50. He walked in on the under 16 ticket, nobody checked him, and then literally I walked in and the guy went, I said, yes. Like, in a little voice, he went, he said, just fuck off. Like that. And I was thinking, you've just let Woody in.
Yeah.
Massive. So it does pay sometimes to have a baby. I couldn't do it now.
He could have pretended to be your dad.
Oh, he's massive. He literally looks like he's had the roughest paper round out of all of my mates. He's really old looking Woody. So anyway, sorry for interrupting you. We'll get back to you.
So I was at school at 16.
Yeah.
I left and I did really bad at school. Really, I had no real kind of. I had the drive at school, but I didn't really have the after school doing homework, revising my stuff. Too busy playing gaming,
Call of Duty.
Yeah. Films, and just had no real kind of ambition really.
Yeah.
And I left school and I got like 1 grade in like art. I got a C in art.
Yeah.
And all your friends at the time
Getting the GCSE.
they're all like going like A stars, getting B's, and they're like getting 6th form, and you're like, that's all my like friends that I've like grew up with.
Yeah.
And I was a bit of a kind of a low point because you're kind of in your own little world now.
Yeah.
And then I went and did in electrics course.
Yeah.
At college just for 2 years. Just went 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Just to kind of pass the time. Really, it wasn't no real kind of I want to be an electrician or a plumber or anything. I was just doing something, so I wasn't at home.
Yeah.
Wasting time. And then at the time, my dad, at home we had an old back boiler and the fire and stuff. And during like the evening when the fire was in, there's like a lid on it. And if you shut the door too quick or if you jumped up and down or whatever, then the lid would put out the fire. And then you couldn't actually carry the plate because it's too hot. So my dad, prior to work one day, got like a drill and started to drill the back of the back boiler to put a little screw in, and he pierced the actual back boiler itself. I wasn't there, but he said all his water's all coming out. Tea towels, panicked, and he found this bloke who came around and fixed it. And then eventually that plumber was doing downstairs en suite, like or whatever. And that was towards the end of my 2 years doing electrics. And I'd get back and I'd like say, do you want a cup of tea? Do you want some biscuits or something? And we kind of just got on like really well. And then I just kind of asked him, would he take on someone? On someone, and that was it really. Kind of just went from there.
Yeah. So you were actually doing electrics originally?
Unfortunately, yeah.
See, that's a contentious one, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's doing electrics, and then like all the plumbers will love that because they're like, yes,
he went for the better trade.
Yes. Do you know what I mean? All Sparkies now are spitting at their TV screens. Like, they've all switched off now. Shit. Do you know what I mean? So just from that again, because I always like to touch on these things. Obviously, you're 16. You've obviously come out. You've struggled with school, and then seeing all your friends go off. I mean, like, you know, this was another thing that I always touch on with Pete is there's never really anybody sort of pushing anybody into a trade skill or saying this is what you can do. So like coming out, and there's probably going to be a lot of potential apprentices or people that want to go into a trade watching this thinking, well, I've got no GCSEs either. You know, sort of how was there anybody that sort of pushed you to go into trades? How did you, like, because when I can understand at 16 you probably think, oh, my life's over, I haven't got any GCSEs. Everyone's telling you you're fucked, and your parents are like, what to do with him? Do you know what I mean? How did you suddenly think, okay, I'll go and study electrics?
I think my dad at the time was very like, you got to do something. I think he was very much like, you're not being at home playing Xbox, watching films all day. So you've got to go and do something.
It's the dream, isn't it?
And then you kind of just did that. And even when actually at college doing electrics, there's no real kind of ambition. Just kind of I'm going there just to pass the day, so I don't get in trouble, and that kind of thing.
Did you enjoy the practicality side of it, so actually making things and bringing things together?
Even then, I think I did, but I was never like the best of it. I've never been the best at like anything really, and there was people that I thought, oh, I'm really good at this, and someone in the same course as you would do it 10 times as better as you, and you think, oh, I'm crap at this. And you kind of get in this mindset of like, what am I going to do? Because you kind of like struggle and think, I haven't got any grades, I haven't got anything. Like, where do you kind of go to?
What do you think you would have done if you hadn't gone down that route?
Asda, stack shelves.
Yeah.
Probably. Honestly, I can't imagine what.
Because I always feel like when it gets to that point, schools are only ever concerned with where they come in the league table for results, rather than sort of then going, well, actually, people that aren't academic, look how many people we've managed to place in jobs. Do you know what I mean?
I think the school system's very old. It fails a lot of people. I'm very much the same as you. I left school with little to no qualifications. I managed to have a really good career in construction and worked my way up through the ranks in the bricklaying world, but it's very old-fashioned. It's very Victorian. A lot of the stuff that's taught at school isn't relevant to a degree of what we do in our normal lives, and I think it does need to change. But where is it going to change? Probably not. Probably not anytime soon.
So you get an apprenticeship with this guy.
Yeah.
Was it an apprenticeship or
Pete? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Pete.
Another Pete.
Is he going to be watching?
Pete the plumber.
Pete. He's in Pete's everywhere. So you managed to convince him to.
It was just kind of like I was quite shocked that.
Did he ask you or did you ask him?
I asked him. I just said, "Oh, would you take on an apprentice?" He went, "Yeah, go on then." And we had like a trial basis for like 4 months, 3 months.
For 10 years. Yeah. 10 years. This is the best apprentice I've ever had.
Yeah. And we kind of had this like trial basis, and then it kind of just went from there.
Did you go and do college as well?
Yeah. So I was at college 1 day a week, and then I'd go and do on site and work with him for 4. Yeah. But I think the point where I enjoyed it with Pete was like it was just him, and where we live is just like a little small villages everywhere, and it's very a community kind of thing. So Peter couldn't go into the car like without like someone going, "Oh, I'm really happy I've seen you because of X, Y, and Z,"
okay.
And that kind of felt nice to me because it's like I never wanted to work for a company and feel like an ant. If that makes sense. I just wanted to feel like wanted in like a nice community. Like, that's Alec, who's the plumber.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Are you two still working together now?
No. So I'm purely
on your own,
self-employed.
So how old were you when you made that decision there?
And
what made you think? Because obviously some people as well, they can't wait to, once they've done their apprenticeship, go, "Whoa, I'm going to go off on my own," and then
I was
realise
opposite,
that,
pure
that
opposite.
the sun's not always shining.
Chris was like that when I was on the podcast.
Yeah, and they sort of then retreat. But when did you? Did he ever encourage you to do it, or was it?
It was kind of like he was always the advocate of go self-employed at some stage, you'll be fine. Da, 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 da. But I just had no confidence. I had no confidence in myself.
So what made you do that then?
It's kind of it was the first big wave of the, can I say the word, pandemic, COVID?
Yeah.
that came along, and by that point I was like, all gas safe and everything, and I got put on furlough, and we kind of just did our thing, and I just stayed at home, and eventually I got bored just being at home. So then I went and worked for a guy who built like extensions and stuff, and I went and just was an on-site labourer carrying pieces of wood on this massive house, huge house, like teas, helping the joiners, and I was loving it. It was in summer, it was beautiful.
So and you never thought to become a carpenter?
If I wasn't a plumber, I'd be a carpenter.
Everybody says that,
Yeah, no, it does.
It's just nice, all the pieces like wood and your little right angles.
It's therapeutic.
Men just love wood, don't they? Smell it, sniff it, touch it, wood.
Do you know what I think it is for me? It's cleaner. Like I used to come home from work covered in
I don't know, when you get the shavings over you.
Oh yeah, no, but
MDF.
It's just yes.
So everybody, I always say, like, if you could do one job, and they're like, like Simon Bowler makes those pretty little things.
Oh yeah, doing that kind of work is.
But everybody always says that's what I'd do if I wasn't a sparky or a plumber. They'd love to do something like what Si or yourself are doing. So you're working on this.
So I was working on this big house, and then that kind of got to the conclusion where he didn't want me anymore. Everything was kind of done, and then a friend of mine was like, "Oh, my friend owns his own business. I won't name his name, won't name his business." And I worked with him for, I think it was like from September to December, and it was the most backwards way of working. It was the most horrendous time ever. I remember coming back on the first day saying, I hate this. And my partner at the time was like, and my parents were like, no, it's fine. You're like overthinking it. I remember coming out thinking, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And that was like...
Was that just because of the way they worked was so
just the way they worked, how the quality of the work was. It was just, from an old school, traditional plumber who I worked with, to then see like this new fashion way of doing things was like wrong to me. Because I remember going there with my toolbox, and the first thing he said to me was, "Why have you got a toolbox for? All you need is like 5 tools, that's it."
Just press fittings.
Yeah.
So you're a solder boy.
Solder boy.
Solder boy. What's that song?
Soldier boy.
Soldier.
Solder boy.
And so it's kind of won't delve too much into that.
Yeah.
But it was kind of it was the most eye-opening and the best thing.
Yeah.
I think it was bad, but it was good because we kind of towards the end we kind of argued, fell out, and because when I was with Peter, my old boss, I had no confidence. So I knew everything, like at college, great, but I had no confidence. I always felt like I could always fall back on Peter. If I got stuck, I called Peter or whatever. And I went and worked for this company, and it was like I can do this. And then my partner at the time, she was like, you can do it, you'll be fine. And then that's it really, just went from there.
And then you did.
That was it.
Yeah, because that's another thing as well. I think a lot of people, when they're self-employed, people go, "Oh, you got to do your own tax. You got to you start your own business. You got a company house, all that sort of stuff." And I think that puts off a lot of people as well, especially when you're not academic.
Yeah.
So did you get any help with all that sort of side, the back end side of the business?
Yeah, like
paperwork
so all the paperwork. Like I can't thank my parents enough for it really in a way, because I am the most unorganised person you've ever meet.
We're all in that same boat.
So it's kind of, as much as work was like good, but the whole like running a business was a eye-opening experience. Like even now, it's still like you're still learning like what good is bad.
So what bits do you struggle with? Because again, I'm trying to, like, if people are listening or watching, like there's going to be people that aren't financially savvy or aren't business minded, you know, what bits do you struggle with, and what bits could you sort of advise somebody to get help with that you?
I think I struggled on it in the past. I think of recent months, I've got quite well with
What about quoting jobs, for example?
quoting jobs. In the past, I was very, very poor. I would be, I've got five jobs upcoming. I don't need any more than that, so I just won't do it. And then those 5 jobs run out, and then you haven't got any work. So it's like, and you're sat there waiting for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
So it kind of took a while to kind of go, it's, even if you can give out a quote or an estimate and say, here's the estimate and I'm busy up to this date. But in the past, you know, when I first started, I had no real kind of talks with me and the customer. It was purely just in my head.
Yeah.
But the customer can't read what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, so like only recently, probably last like 6 months, I've got, you know, got my head together and gonna go, oh right, email the customer, text them back, phone them.
So you'd say like just be like communicating.
Communicate is key.
Yeah.
Even if you're late, early.
So do you think that all of the, like, because obviously you probably come across as very shy or like you don't have much confidence. Like, would you say all of this sort of stuff and doing this, going self-employed, helps you now with that? You become more confident. So you like, because you're learning about that stuff now, you feel better at that stuff.
Yeah.
You're managing your time better. You're quoting jobs more accurate. You know, because that's another thing I think which puts people off.
Yeah, definitely. Stuff like this brings you out your shell, and you're learning constantly learning all the time, and it comes down to experience as well. So you'll know, right, like you just explained there about, I've got 5 jobs in front of me, I don't need to think about it, and then you get to the point where I've got no work, whereas now you're forward thinking, and you're thinking, right, I've got 5 jobs, I might need to start looking for more work coming in, and I need to send those quotes off, or I need to do that. Whereas before you didn't know. You only know what you know, don't you?
How do you find work now? Or is that social media? Is that?
I don't get any work from social media at all.
You're the first person that said that.
Am I?
Yeah.
Mine's purely
need to utilise it more.
Yeah. Mine's all like all friends, family, or in the main currently it's just I do a job or do a bathroom for someone, then they'll talk to someone else, and it just spirals out of control.
Yeah. Is it? Do you notice you're getting more people asking you to do stuff?
Especially last probably 6 months where I've kind of got my head together.
Yeah.
I'm going, you know what, I'm gonna spend less time.
Yeah.
Going on a jolly and not going to work, because when you're self-employed, it's like, oh, I have a day off, or I don't feel very well.
Or, it's easy to do that.
But then when you actually get your head together, it's actually, you can see how much you can gain in 6 months compared to what I've done in a year.
Yeah. If you start growing something and you see it grow,
you get the it's so addictive. So then you go, oh, I did that, but it's like now I'm currently all I care about is work.
Yeah.
And that's me being genuine. I work.
Yeah.
I don't want a personal life as of yet, or a girlfriend.
Oh, that'll change it. when you have a sniff of a good woman. Fuck work. I'm going out. I'll see you in 3 days.
How do you feel about your confidence now?
I think it's grown a lot, because obviously I've probably not said it, but I have got like a stutter kind of thing, and that's never been like I never actually like talk about it on TikTok, on socials, or anything.
Yeah. But this is why we have people on. Like the main thing is there's so many people that probably follow you but don't actually know who you are.
Yeah.
So the whole point of doing the podcast was, you know, we always look at people, you know, like Pete and stuff like that, and people are like, oh yeah, hi Pete, you know, I go to shows, everyone's like, have a picture of my dog Pete. but people don't actually get to know Pete.
Yeah, I get that.
If that makes any sense. And that's why we have people on, because I look at people's work and I'm like, wow, that guy's like, you know, when you're doing some pipe work, I'm like, look, it looks like a cathedral organ and stuff like that, and watching you do stuff, and I think these people are super talented, but actually I don't know anything about that person. So like, it's great getting people on to, you know, I'm sure there's other people that are probably in a similar situation.
Like that's and that's my, I think I personally should do more, is kind of irrelevant of if you're like got like a personal like defect, like you know, physically, or like, because I can go to jobs or go to a customer's house and they don't know I've got a stutter.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll stand at the door and they'll go, hi, and I'll go, and I'll just freeze, and then they'll look at me, I'll look at them, and I'll go, Christ, did they don't know.
Yeah.
And I haven't told them.
Are you apprehensive about telling people? Is that something that? Because I'll be honest. I think once people know, they don't.
I've got a star.
Yeah. But say like obviously on your like TikTok and stuff like that, you never thought about talking. There's got to be other people in similar
100%.
situations.
But I think I need to kind of put it out there in the world.
Yeah.
Because I think I've got the point now where you could probably say, I've heard every single joke that you could even say. So if you think of a nice original joke, fire away. Honestly, I will applaud.
Yeah.
You want to watch his Bernie Mac does one?
Does it?
Yeah, Bernie Mac does one. He talks about his nephew, and he stood at. I'm not even going to say it because I will kill it. You need to. I'll send you. I'll show it afterwards. It is funny.
But like even being able to talk about that to other people, because there's going to be people that have got other things which they're apprehensive about, which then they think, oh, that's going to stop me from going out and doing my job, or like if somebody opened the door and then maybe like. I don't know if somebody's got something wrong with their eye.
Yeah.
Or a cleft lip or something like that where people think like, oh, I can't do it. So I think it's always good for people to like talk about stuff like that. Because obviously for you, it's probably impacted you a lot thinking, well, I can't do this job because of...
Yeah, like growing up as a kid, because I never actually always had a stutter. It was only when I was at age 5, even though I can't remember it, that I just woke up one day and my parents said I woke up in the morning and I just couldn't speak. That was it.
Crazy that.
Yeah. Well, it just changes over quite literally.
And that was it. And then I had to go to a doctor. And I kind of like to put because I can't remember anything, you know.
Yeah.
And I just learnt stuff and then went to like speech therapy, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then in primary school and
it's hard
early
at school 'cause
secondary,
kids
are lethal.
Yeah.
Kids will say anything to.
Well, I had ADHD, which was undiagnosed when I was younger, and basically everybody's parents were like, "Don't invite that fuck around." He was literally like, "Do not invite him round the house."
Your mum diving over, taking sweets off everybody.
Like,
Don't give Alex any of them.
Gosh, there's cherryade in the cupboard. Get it out. Do you know what I mean? So it does impact us like other people. Just I think, especially when I was younger as well, people just there was no real talk about stuff like that.
No, there definitely wasn't, and people hide away from it and ashamed by it because they're scared what society will say to them and what people will say behind the backs. Whereas if you're out there and you're owning it like you do, come at me. What can you say? Exactly like you said before. I've heard it all before. People have said stuff to me. It doesn't bother me. I'm still me. I'm still out doing my job.
Yeah, with your soft hands.
Yeah. You see that the other day?
You think?
I keep getting grief for that, And then some people don't get that post. They keep saying, "Oh yeah, I like it because I wear gloves because of cement." I'm like, it's not about the cement, but anyway, never mind.
You've missed the joke.
Yeah,
never mind. But so bring us to, because this is another big thing, is putting yourself out on social. Then because you've obviously feeling yourself saying, "I'm not very confident." What then makes you then go, I'm going to start putting my work out, so because that's somewhere where you can get hammered, basically.
I kind of just think I just put it out there. Like I remember the first video I put on. I remember I could explain it all now. I kind of just put it out there as a bit of like a whim. Like, just who's going to watch it?
Which platform was it
on TikTok?
Yeah.
And it was just like a video of me tiling a wall on like a time lapse thing. I think at the time it did like 12,000 views, and I was like, 12,000 people have watched this video. Like, why would you watch that?
Yeah.
And then you kind of do like bits and bobs, and then your confidence builds a little bit, and then at the start, odd people go, "Oh, that's great." There's a bunch of hate, and then you just keep going.
Typical TikTok, yeah.
Yeah, and TikTok is, you go too deep in that pit of comments.
Yeah.
I think Facebook's worse.
You will get lost.
No, Twitter was the original.
Yeah,
because they could say more words in one tweet. Do you know what I mean? People put a comment, they just go cock on TikTok or this is shit. Whereas like Twitter, they give you 140 characters of abuse. But like TikTok now is just it's terrible.
It's bad. But yeah, and then that kind of just posted, and then I think I had a break for like 4 or 5 months because I thought, why am I doing this? Like, I don't actually want to do it.
It can consume your day, can't it, as well?
I must spend. It's kind of
How much time do you spend on a post?
It all depends. if I just want to,
because this is another thing, is when people have got a decent following like you guys have, is they'll go, oh, I'll never get that. And it's like, well, this is how much effort you actually have to put into.
It's hard work, because I think during the average working day, I must waste an hour and a half setting up my little tripod, putting my phone on, getting the right angle. Oh, does it look good?
What's your best angle? Give us your best angle straight now.
And you kind of just spend so much time doing that. And you think, so you kind of lose like an hour and a half of your working day. So let's say you work 8 hours, that's like, let's go at 10, 9 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, you want to go back, you want to just unwind and just for half an hour. And then you could spend easy half an hour doing one video, sat there, editing a little bit, snippet, I don't like that, I'll put that in, and get that point, that's like another hour gone. Yeah. And you think it's like 6, 7 o'clock.
Bedtime.
Honestly, I think I get to bed every night probably about 12.
Yeah.
I think I get to bed early, which is bad, I know.
Something else I know over there.
Night owl.
And I think it does consume a lot of my life now.
Yeah.
Than it did. I think in prior where I first was doing it, it was kind of like, it is what it is. But now it's because I actually care about what I'm posting and what's on it.
Because I find like that's that. So what you've just said is completely different to anybody else. Obviously, you spend a lot of time doing it. But you don't get as much work from it.
No.
Whereas I find actually some people don't so much have the following, but it's almost like that becomes their like CV jobs. So people actually only ever actually post because they're getting work from it, which is it's crazy.
So yeah, I don't get any work from it at all.
Well, hopefully now you get a bit more. Now we've told people. So whereabouts are you working?
Alfwell Oval in Notts.
Nottingham.
In Nottingham.
Ah, okay. There you go. Nottingham. If you need a plumber,
shout me out. Yeah.
So there you go.
Next time he's in the co-op, make sure you come on.
So, ladies and gents, tradesmen and women, I am trying to help you organise yourself. So we have teamed up with Tradify, which is a software brand that if you are struggling to get organised, to look after your customers and to get everything ready for the jobs that you are going to need, then Tradify is an all-in-one solution. So we've teamed up with those guys. If you click this little link just up here, you get 50% off your first 3-month subscription, and you also can have a 14-day free trial. John, I'm going to come over to you now. Give us your best look down the camera. I'll get you to do one in a minute. So just, again, sort of similar thing.
Yeah.
Take us back to how you got started. Sort of, don't leave anything out. Obviously, like I appreciate that Al's talked about something to him which is personal.
Okay.
Because all of this sort of stuff, the whole point, like I keep banging on about, is to get other people that are in similar situations where they might watch this and think, well, actually, do you know what? I can relate to that, and that's really helped me. So you might not think it's important, but
they might.
You'd be surprised what people pick up on as well.
Yeah. Probably get 3 or 4 messages now of people where they're like, I have exactly the same thing, and I've always thought I can't go and do my own job, and then I know that like this is worth.
It's empowering other people.
Yeah, worth doing. So take us back and give us the juice.
So I've been wanting to be a carpenter since I was about 14 years old, and it's all because of Vidas and Pet. Everyone remember her? Vidas and Pet?
Yeah. It was the accent threw me then. I was like,
yeah, I probably said it wrong, to be honest.
I'll be the same, Pet.
Yeah, I wanted to be Wayne. He was a carpenter. He was a ladies' man. And I wanted to, go to Germany.
He was good with his wood.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's such a dad joke.
I ended up being more like Neville, to be honest, than Wayne. But I've always wanted to be a carpenter. I'm really heavily dyslexic, like really bad. Like I got statemented when I was like 12, and I had a reading age of a 6-year-old and a spelling age of like an 8-year-old. So I was like really bad.
Do you know what? A lot of trades always have that similar theme running through.
And I come from a quite of academic background as well. My parents and my brothers. My one brother is got a master's degree in politics. The other one is a film producer.
I bet he's great at dinner parties.
I know. So I was completely different. It was my brothers and then me. And I think my parents always worried, like, what are we going to do with John?
Yeah.
You know, but I always wanted to be calm. I was so determined all the way through school. My dad knew a guy in the CITB, and he said, look, don't worry, I'm going to get you an apprenticeship. It's all going to be fine, don't worry. So I had to go down to a college, and it was literally, I just thought, it was like, right, they're going to tell me where my apprenticeship is.
Yeah.
I went down to college, and it was not that at all. It was a test to get on to the apprenticeship. I didn't have a pencil. Everyone was really prepared. It was a calculator and a ruler, and I just turned up and go, what's happening then? And,
What's occurring?
yeah, you know, what's going on? Like? And obviously I failed the test.
Yeah.
I failed. I was devastated. My dad spoke to the guy, and he's like, oh, don't worry, go for the interview and you'll be fine. Went to the interview, failed the interview as well. I was so determined, and like just bumming around then for a couple of months, and my parents got me into a scheme, and it was called the Alan Davis Centre. Best scheme ever. They want to bring it back. It was like a training centre, and it was proper set up for people like me that didn't have no qualifications, didn't have no GCSEs or nothing, and I was lucky enough to go to that. It was 4 days a week. It was £45 a week, and it was just fantastic. It was brilliant, and it was a proper working environment. Proper men, and like they would be shouting at you, would be swearing, and it wasn't like a school or college kind of environment. It was a men's environment. Yeah. And
45 quid to get bollocks.
Yeah, basically.
I love it.
I loved it, and I did. I absolutely loved it. And what was the funny part about it was every Friday, well, most Fridays, you'd have to line up, and like a builder would come in, and it's like, all right, I need someone for 2 weeks. And he'd line us all up in a line, and he'd like, all right, this is John.
That's why you were so good at them pictures.
I know. This is John. John hasn't done much this week, and you know, and I was never picked. And it was like every single week I was never picked. I was like, I was like in school when you'd be picked for football. It was like that kind of situation. And it was one guy came in, George Adams. Oh my career to him really. He came in and he said, "Look, I need a boy for 2 weeks just to give me a hand." And he wanted this other kid, and he was sort of way more advanced than me, and he was really good. But he didn't want to go with him, and he had a bad attitude. And there's me, like, so keen, come on, take me. And he was like, oh, come on, So I went to him for 2 weeks, worked my absolute arse off to try and, impress him. And he said, oh, you can stay for another 2 weeks. Stayed for another 2 weeks. And then he called me into the office, and he said, look, I want to give you an apprenticeship. And, I was really nervous because of the academic side of it. And he was like, don't worry, buddy, you'll be fine.
Do you ever wonder, like, I always love listening to these types of stories, if you hadn't met that guy?
Oh, I know. It's quite scary.
It's always like there's always somebody or something that happens that sort of pushes you.
Yeah, and do you know what? He was a horrible boss to everyone, but I don't know why, he just took a shine to me. Yeah. And like, I used to love Fridays. He'd say, come on, he said, and he had about 14 boys working for him. Like, it was a general, building company. And he would take me, and I was driving, he had a brand new Nissan Navara, Jeep, and he'd let me drive it around and just go into different jobs, and he just took a shine to me, So I done my apprenticeship. The third year, I failed my apprenticeship. I failed the third year, but I had enough qualifications to be classed as a carpenter. Yeah. But I failed my third year.
This is another thing. I'm sorry for jumping in again. Okay. Like when you don't get picked, you keep failing things. Yeah. Like, I'm always surprised that people end up actually doing what they do.
I think it's because they appreciate it more. Because like if somebody wins all the way through and it's easy to get there, they don't appreciate it. Whereas you've had to push yourself, the pair of you have had to push yourself through to get to where you need to be, and you appreciate it more, and that's why you love it so much.
And that's, I think, he's just had a massive passion for it, always, and he must have just seen something in me, and
I think when you are keen to learn and you are on time and you turn up, those are the you can teach everything else. Definitely. You can't teach somebody to be polite, and you can't teach somebody to get out of bed in the morning. So I think that will always win.
Yeah, I think that's like you going back to what can you teach someone, the future generation is just, you just got to be willing and just wanting to learn, and it's not easy. And I definitely didn't have the easy route. And but luckily I finished my apprenticeship in the end. Yeah. But without
did you pass it in the end?
No, I didn't pass it because they
don't need it.
Yeah, they said, look, you can go back for the next 3 months. But he wasn't keen on me going back, and he convinced me not to do it. And I do kind of regret it just because I haven't got that
piece of paper.
Yeah, basically.
You could go back and do it now, couldn't you?
Yeah, I could. don't think it's a need now, to be honest, where I am, but it's it just proves that you don't need the qualifications really, but it was a hard journey, but he went semi-retired then, and I literally, when I finished my apprenticeship and I stayed for 6 months and I left and I went self-employed, and that was probably the worst mistake.
Oh really?
Well, yeah, because I was 19 years old, didn't have no money, nothing behind me, but I was just so determined to make a go of it. And
do you think that stemmed from being told you couldn't do it? So you were like, I'm going to prove everybody wrong.
Well, it has actually been studies into people with dyslexia of the stubbornness and the determination, because they've been told all their lives that you can't do something. And all the way through school, like I can remember, being in school, and I was always in the, even though I wasn't a naughty boy, I was always in classes because they go, well, he's dull, just give him, put him in that.
Did you get accused of being lazy a lot?
I don't know. I was very, they said I was very distractive, and, just...
Yeah, so for me, they used to say to me, Rob could achieve way more, but he's lazy.
Right, okay.
He doesn't assert
I'd love
himself.
to bring old school, because mine is all class clown.
Yeah.
Alex is actually very, very intelligent when he implies himself, which is very rare. It is.
And then I think, like you were saying about stubbornness and drive, I constantly think now that I'm going to outwork and keep going because I don't want people to think I'm lazy, and don't want people to think that's what everybody thought I was for so many years.
Yeah. But it is weird how stuff like that stay. But going back to you sort of like wanting that piece of paper, it doesn't actually like bring anything else to you, but it's because it's been imposed on you that we should have these pieces of paper like you. I don't want to be lazy, so I've got to prove to everybody I'm not lazy. I don't know why that stigma sort of then sticks with you.
Like I said, the system's all wrong. The school, like my brother's a teacher, and I've had many discussions, and he said the system is just all wrong.
But if they'd at school sort of like pushed you guys, especially if you're good at art, like normally if you're good at art,
that's debatable. But
no, but even like if they knew that you were better at that one thing than something else, if you're good with your hands, generally if you're good at art, you're normally quite good at DT or like certain things like that. So I don't know why they don't sort of push kids to at least get good grades in the things that they're good at, and then the rest of it just it's not for you. Just crack on.
And I think further on down the line, I think it is going to be a massive shortage of, and I know it's been out there about there. I think it's going to be a massive shortage of tradesmen, and like I said, they're trying to do a quick turnaround of tradesmen.
All these 6-week courses.
Yeah, and that's exactly. I just you do need an apprenticeship, and you do need to learn, just for confidence building more than anything. Yeah. But like I said, it's just so old.
I think the other thing as well is there's people like Pete, which I can't knock him for, is that they don't want to have an apprentice. Yeah. So at some point, like does Pete, when he's finished doing his plumbing, actually go, right, okay, I'll go and teach somewhere? Because otherwise, how do you transfer that knowledge to somebody? That knowledge stops there in that time with him. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Unless you're willing to sort of pass it on to somebody else. So. And
I think what's really strange is I know there's a carpenter that literally finished their apprenticeships and went straight into being a lecturer in college. And I'm thinking, where's your experience? Yeah. You've got to have some experience. You've got to have site experience and how to get out when you're in a college and you just got a perfect square walls, and you need to know how to get out of the problems. You only learn by your mistakes. So he said, if you ever came across this problem, this is how you get out of it. But then that's where YouTube, Instagram and TikTok come in play then to problem solving and seeing all these. And that's why my content is based on is I show people how I do my work. I'm not saying it's the best way or the perfect way, but I do show people daily what I do and how I come across problems and get over them. So to take us back then, you're 19. Yeah. You're all gung-ho. I'm going to prove everybody wrong. Yeah. What happens next? Failed. No, like I said, I went self-employed, just doing private work, because when I was doing my apprenticeship, I had quite a lot of private work on weekends and stuff. But when you got to do it 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, it runs out very quickly. So it didn't really work, and I think I was just a bit too young. So I went out on site, and that was probably the best thing I ever did, just house bashing, just doing second fix carpentry. And I learned so much off the boys on site, right? Like for instance, because you've got a door line, and I used to, pilot drill and screw it and glue it. And it was like, no, don't do that. You nail it together. You've got to get this job done. it's probably not the best method, but when you're on site and you've got to earn money, that is how you start earning money, and then you pick up little tricks and tips. And I was very lucky. A guy called Craig Keep, he just took me under his wing, and he just said, look, you come with me. And he said, and we got partnered up for everything 50-50, which was insane, and I still don't understand why to this day that he did it. But
you were doing all the work, that's why.
I know, I must have been.
He was like, yes.
You know, and like I said, he you know, even though my apprenticeship was important, I think that was when I started to pick up, or you know, and the detailing and the skills, and then I just had a bit of enough of site work.
There's quite a lot of time pressure on site work as
well.
Oh
yeah, it is. It's hard work. You know, I'd done it for about 4 years on and off, and I was always going back to doing private work. And because I like to do second fix and like kitchens and stuff, I didn't want to do any first fix like roofing and stuff.
What's your favourite thing that you do?
Now it's probably like the wardrobes. I think that's the most enjoyment, doing the wardrobes.
Yeah.
And like I said, so I specialise now in, you know, kitchens, bedrooms, and storage, so like understairs storage, with posh pull-out drawers.
There's some
and
fantastic work.
Yeah,
understairs storage.
Yeah, so I try.
Who would have thought under the stairs, like when you know, 70s, 80s, 90s, under the stairs was just nothing, wasn't it?
It's all your old shoes and stuff. Thinking back at my mum and dad's house, you'd launch your coats and
it's a big money maker now, definitely. Yeah, it is.
So you've gone on your own. You've then gone on site, and then how do you then leave there?
So again, it was just always going back and forth, going private work and going on site. And I just said, right, if I'm going to do this, you know, private work, I got to stick it in and just, you know, and not go running back to site. So I just started, again, just slowly building it up bit by bit, doing, you know, second fix carpentry, and then started getting into the kitchens more, and then started the wardrobes, and that's where it grew. So it was probably about, I'd say 2012 is where it started getting big. But then 2012 was a bad year as well, is I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And that was a big knock-on effect, to be honest. And like I said, it was a really bad year. But that made me stick at the private work because I was a bit more flexible, and I could.
Did that mean you had to have a lot of time off work?
Yeah, like I said, in the beginning, to be honest, like I first got diagnosed with sarcoidosis, which is another autoimmune disease, and I thought I was dying. I found a lump on my neck, and they thought I had lymphoma, so I had to have a biopsy on my neck, and then I was getting to you know, understand that and get my head around the sarcoidosis, and then the Crohn's came on as well, which was really mad, and that was a big knock-on effect, you know, to my life and my working life as well. But it sounds mad. I think it helped me because, you know, I could control it a bit easier just doing private work and not go back running to site. So that was like, you know, a good and bad experience with it.
Yeah. So 2012, you get diagnosed. How does that affect you sort of like mentally, physically going forward? When did you then start the social media side of things as well? Just give us a bit more detail on.
Yeah, so like obviously when you're ill, if you're ever ill, and even if you just have like a stomach bug or like a flu, it does knock your confidence. If you had a few days off work, you know, your confidence does get knocked. And like when I was having a lot of time off work, it was knocking my confidence, and you get a bit paranoid as well. I was like, oh my God, what are the customers saying about me now? I was completely honest with them, and I would even say, look, you know, like I can come to work, but I might have to leave early, and it was all really understanding. And, you know, I think that built a bit of a relationship as well, because, you know, I don't know if he just
personable.
Yeah, and, you know, I don't know if he just felt sorry for me, or but it kind of helped the situation. And then like regarding like the social media, I love my job and I love tools, so it all started with me just like showing my tools off, and so my nickname is Johnny DeWalt because massive DeWalt fan, and I started off buying DeWalt.
We lost everybody when he said, "Oh, I became a plumber from a spark," and now all the Milwaukee fans have just gone.
Sam and everyone switched off.
And like I said, I was a massive DeWalt fan, and like I said, so I started wanting to show, you know, my DeWalt setup and stuff.
It's a great name.
Yeah, and that's what it was. It was just Instagram was just about showing off my tools, basically. But like I won a competition with DeWalt. It was, are you DeWalt's biggest fan? And
did you win it?
I won it. Yeah, but now I want you to ask me how I won it.
How did you win it?
So we had a DeWalt themed wedding.
What?
Did she have a yellow dress on and you had a yellow top?
It's probably a bit extreme. So basically, when me and my wife got married,
you weren't on Don't Tell the Bride, were you? All dressed up in
well, we was in the Sandpaper, and we was on the Mirror as well.
Right
so don't Google it.
Is it under Johnny DeWalt?
I don't know. It's probably. So basically, how it all started.
Power tool themed DIY wedding. I can't get into that.
There it is.
Did you cut it with a recip saw?
Is that a DeWalt cake?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So let me explain. I got to explain. My wife would kill me otherwise. So basically, how it came about is when we was like deciding on what theme we're going to go for a wedding, what colours.
On as well.
Of course. And we decided that we're going to have it a bit quirky because we are quite quirky people. My wife is as well. So. And in that year, her best friend was a fashion designer, and she said, "Look, what's in is yellow. So why wouldn't you have yellow?" And I said, "Well, let's do something a bit different. Let's, instead of having just table names, we had circular saw table, and we had recips. So there we are."
It looks like a minion.
Yeah. And do you know what? It was incredible. It was a brilliant day, and everyone who came said it was just so different.
What did you win from DeWalt? What did you win?
Oh, so basically it was called the Test and Track Day. So DeWalt used to sponsor Yamaha Tech Free, the MotoGP.
Yeah.
So it was just when he was launching the lithium ion range. So they did 10 winners.
Doesn't look like you with the,
I was going to say you do completely different.
Completely different now. Yeah, look completely different.
Better with the beard, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
How's the hair?
Gone. That's why I always got a hat on. But yeah, it was so obviously I won the competition and it was like 10 winners.
Apparently you've got a penchant for all things black and yellow.
Yeah. Do you know what?
Wiz Khalifa. That,
yeah, black and yellow, black and yellow.
Yeah, I know that was one of the songs,
What's it? The wedding?
First dance.
No, it wasn't first dance. No, but we did do a really cool dance as well, and that's on YouTube as well.
The 28-year-old's DeWalt obsession kicked off when he was just 16 and began his carpentry apprenticeship.
That's true.
They just happened to be the first tools I bought, he said. But then, when I went on to start my own business, I thought it would look more professional if everything was the same colour. It's a shame Unilight wasn't around back then. My uniform is black and yellow, as is my van and my business cards.
It was.
And of course, all my tools. I just love that. What a quote.
Yeah, and like I said, it was incredible.
I love stuff like this when it's on the show. It's just great, isn't it?
It did slate us mind, and that was one thing that really did upset my wife because they made out like I forced it upon her, and it wasn't like that at all. It wasn't.
Don't lie.
No, it wasn't.
That's your wife now?
Yeah.
Yes, he did force me.
Yeah, so
they always twist something though. To
be honest, it was horrible at the time because it was like it turns to something that was so amazing.
But you did win the biggest fan, so
exactly. And as well, like I said, I've got an incredible relationship with DeWalt, and it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for that. So which is amazing.
DeWalt can't pay for advertising.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that. Yeah. Absolutely love it.
I've got an old DeWalt radio that is 23 years old. It's fallen off so many scaffolds.
It's still going.
And it's still going.
To be fair, some of the stuff actually better that was built back then than it is now.
I've had it where it's fallen off and landed in the water tub next to the mixer, and I'm like, no.
Still going.
Still going
strong.
Yeah. Just leave it to dry for a little bit.
Love that. So, as you know, myself and Pete, we always want to try and give back to the people that watch and listen to the show. So we've done you an absolute solid. We've got loads of discounts from top name brands all across the internet. So if you want to save some money on tools, software, tool bags, accessories, then go and check out our discount page, which is just located here. Hopefully there's a saving on there for you, and that's a little bit of a thank you from myself and Pete for supporting the channel. So where were we anyway? I've completely lost track of thought.
About the social media. So it all started doing the stories, and people seem to like them. And like I said, I was always really nervous about how I start my videos, like morning guys and all this nonsense. And
hey, you guys.
Yeah, and then I started saying morning Instagram. and then I shortened it to Morning IG, and I was doing that for a while, and then I stopped doing it, and I was having messages. Why didn't you say Morning IG anymore?
Morning, Angie.
Yeah. So I just carried on saying
You've got to do that.
Yeah.
Morning, Angie.
And then people would copy me as well, obviously in a Welsh accent, to try and copy. And I thought, well, obviously this has got.
Do you know what's really
now.
funny is people when they coin a phrase in Welsh, like absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
Like even like my missus is like, have you seen that guy? Absolutely shocking. I'm like, yeah, but him on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like it just does get coined.
Oh,
I mean,
definitely.
their TikTok went mental over
it
COVID.
did. Yeah.
But to be fair, some of the stuff they were showing.
It was shocking.
Shocking.
Absolutely shocking.
It was. It's absolutely terrible. So yeah, the social then. Do you get work
Yes.
through your social?
Nearly all my work comes through social media. So it all started off like, it was all like Yale.com used to pay like £800,000 a year. And then
Check a trade and stuff like that.
I
wasn't
never really was on Tracker Trade, to be honest, but it was all like Facebook, and then Facebook came into it, and like I said, because it's local as well, and then I started doing Instagram, and then I started moving away from like doing showing my tools off to doing finished pictures, and then that had a really good response, and you just got to go with the times, and
I think
if something gets really good.
The carpentry can be massive for people
Yes.
because I love that wardrobe.
Yeah.
Look at those handles on that wardrobe,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
everyone's getting like home inspiration.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, it is, so visual, and and then I started getting loads of work through Instagram. And what's really amazed me, and I never thought it'd happen, is customers watch my stories and my videos and how I do my stuff, because a lot of my videos of how I do this.
I do that with Townsend because he's done all the Carpentry here.
Yeah.
But when he's here, I'm watching him on his thing. If I'm out of the office, I'm like, oh, he's doing a good job in that.
Customers love it because they're like, you try when you go to a customer's house, and it's like they already know you. So like they speak, hiya John, come in. So they already know you. Yeah. And they already know you. So it's you haven't got that, that's the icebreaker. So they think that they know you straight away. And when I say, all right, well, this is how I'm going to do this, because like when I do a kitchen, I always rip down the ceiling so I can get to all the the cables and all the the pipe work and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, oh yeah, we know you're going to rip down the ceiling before I even said it, because they've seen it on my stories.
Well, I wasn't, but
yeah, exactly.
You want me to.
So, and like I said, they like to see the process of how I do things, and
it's a good chance for you to show like how meticulous you are with certain things.
Yeah, and as I said, that's what you want to come across. It's just advertising yourself, and it's all about branding. It's just about showing yourself and selling yourself. When you are self-employed, you are, like you said, you're everything. You're not just a carpenter. You are an accountant. You've got to do everything, and you've got to do the advertising part.
We asked Al, what's the worst thing for you then about being self-employed? What's the
everything? and when you were saying,
and on that note, well, let me
like on my social media, especially Instagram, I put everything on it. I've talked about like my health issues. I've talked about everything when I'm having a real bad day or a bad week. And what I notice is I get a better response when I'm saying something really bad. And the one thing that always stuck out to me is I was really down, really, I was thinking, I just can't do this anymore. And I done a video on Instagram, said I'm Morning IG, not feeling it today. And I was having lovely messages, and then one message saying, mate, what are them eyebrows all about? and it just made me laugh. And I was thinking, do you know what? This is what you need sometimes. And I thought that was incredible. And like I said, people are obsessed with my eyebrows. They're obsessed.
I can't really see them.
Oh, really?
That's it. Wow.
See? And like I said, it's just it's part of it. And like sometimes I used to be really self-conscious about them and the way I speak and the way I present myself.
But that's part of you though, isn't it?
You have got to own it.
To that, then,
You've got to own it.
And this is it, and people buy people, don't
Yes,
they?
definitely.
So if they're seeing you every day on screen or with your posts that you put, and they know exactly where you are, what you're up to, and what you're all about, it's the icebreaker. It makes it a lot easier for you.
Oh, definitely. And I say I don't post for a couple of days, and if if you're not feeling up to it, I do it because I love it. So if you don't feel up to it, I don't post, and people are messaging me, John's everything okay? You haven't posted for a few days, and that's just that's incredible.
That's good,
I think being self-employed is just such a lonely environment sometimes. You're on your own. I know you've got your family and friends to support you, but when you're on a job, it can be a really lonely
Here's
place.
a question for you before we sort of wrap it up and go to like final thought. Would you take on an apprentice?
No. I did try. I've had an apprentice in the past. I've had an apprentice in the past, and he's a qualified carpenter now, and he was great. I did try to take on another one, and because of the kind of work I do now, I don't actually do carpentry. The CITB refused me because I don't cover all aspects of it, which is fair enough. But now, like, the kind of work I do is, I'm working in someone's bedroom, is quite expensive stuff. It literally
just hinder you more.
Yeah, and like I said, you do have trust issues being self-employed. You don't want to.
Would you in the future go and do teaching or anything?
I would love to. I think I would struggle, obviously, with the academic side of it. So that one thing would put me off.
I always feel like trades, you can't teach the practical side.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you need to know a bit like technical, especially for plumbers, so
Yeah.
you don't blow anybody up.
Yeah, definitely.
Or sparkies, but I just feel like having that experience, and you've got to pass it on to somebody.
No, definitely. And like I said, I tried to pass it on with the social media, the Instagram, and like I said, I've started YouTube up again, and I get loads of messages. Oh, look, John, I got come across this problem. How would you get out of it? And sometimes it saves the job and saves the money side of it as well. And I really appreciate this. So I do like that side of it, and probably the dreams. I don't know what my health is going to be like in the future. It would be fantastic. I have got a workshop. It would be fantastic if I could just do YouTube videos and teach people how I do.
You could do courses for people.
Yeah,
people come and learn.
People could come to you. Yeah.
That would be absolutely incredible. Because I have got to think of the future in that respect. I don't know how long I could keep on doing what I'm doing, even though I love it.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope I can do it for a very, very long time. But you never know.
Like
so
Peter Wright.
Peter Wright, yeah.
Carry me out in the box.
Yeah.
So what I want to do now, like what we do to sort of wrap it up, is give you, if you want to plug your stuff, or you want to just pass on any advice, or you want to talk like one last time about sort of anything where you think people would want to know it. So we'll go over. We'll start with you this time, and then we'll come to Alfie's final thought, Jerry Springer style.
I think I'm probably going to speak about the social media side because that's what I'm more known for. I think what I like people to get out of it is, we don't live in a perfect world. Like I said, you see all these amazing projects and all these amazing people do it, and like I try to go down a different route and show the bad parts and and all that. And sometimes it looks a bit depressing, but I think it's important and the messages I have, I get the response of, I'm so glad you did that video today. And I just hit 100,000 followers on Instagram, which is
mega,
which is incredible.
I've been trying for ages. I'm like stuck at about 76,000 for us.
It's a lot of it is luck. You just do one video, it is just goes viral.
What was the most that you had? Is that 40 mil?
Yeah, I think it's like 39 million views, and again it's a.
Do you know what though? You probably really annoyed. I wish you'd have got to 40. Come on.
Hopefully it does soon, but so that is like a one that's gone absolutely crazy.
Amazing, just to think of that. Yeah.
It's mental. It's mental.
What about you then, Al? Or Alec? Should we say Alec?
On.
What do you prefer?
Alan. Not Alan. Not Alan. My final thought would be to like the up and coming people in the trade, so plumber, joiner, whatever, just go for it.
Yeah.
And don't look back, because I can sit here now and say when I was 16, I looked forward and I had no idea what I was going to do.
I think most people are like.
But now I'm here, I can look back and I can connect all the dots and of how I've got from where I was to here. And I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, I think from listening to both of you two is just anybody that's listening to this that's in a similar situation where they might have dyslexia, might struggle with a speech. I always think like don't let that stop you, because obviously you two are testament to that. So you've done well done to both of you, and thank you very much for coming on. And you, Rob.
No worries.
It's been nice.
Mid pit stop on the way home from London.
I haven't felt like I need to for an hour. So we're all good. But thank you very much for
Thank you
for coming.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
If you like listening to Al talk over all the guests, if you've enjoyed this episode of Trade Legends, listening to Al talk over everybody else and people banging on the desk. If you've enjoyed listening to and watching today, you fucking gonna just stay still, one space just for a minute.
If you've enjoyed watching this, blah 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 blah. Right,
just,
3, 2, 1, go.
So I'll just not do it.
Go.
Yeah, you sure? I'm gonna shut up for just like a minute. If you've enjoyed listening and watching today's Trade Legends podcast, please subscribe to our channel. It will really help us out. We're a new podcast. We want to do big things, and you subscribing, hitting the little bell so you get notifications, would be just great. Thank you.
Hitting the little bell. I was like, yeah, ding, 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 ding.
There is a little bell in there.